Welcome to Ken's Corner Podcast, Season 4.
Hey everyone, it's Ken from Ken's Corner. I'm here with my partner, as always, Joe Moyer, Sports Timeout. We got a special guest from the fan panel, George Garbett. Thank you for joining us. Before before we say our highs, I do have a few announcements to make. Starting real soon, like maybe even by next week, we're going to be transitioning into a different name, and this is going to be known as the Joe and Ken Sports Show. So I think that's really good. Joe has debates me over who should be first in the line of that name, but he's my star here. So Joe, that's you.
Well, thanks, Ken. It should be you, but I guess J comes before K, so we'll just say it's for alphabetical reasons. How's that?
You got that. I also want to announce that we've also started doing some raffles. So I just want to set out the platform of what we're going to see. So starting, I hope by next week, because this raffle is doing good already. We've already sold half the tickets, and I believe Joe's going to jump in on there, George. So you can argue with him over what number he's not taking, but these raffles are starting to do well for us. So I think what the idea is, we're going to transition to uh, being released on YouTube first only, 6:30, which is half hour before every Leaf game, every Saturday night. Well, regardless if the Leafs are playing or not, we'll be in that time slot, so you can join us here on YouTube. And for any of the raffles that are going to happen here, and we got a couple to go. The first one up is the Austin Matthews black jersey. So there's $9 a ticket. 14 of them have been purchased so far. We have another 16 to go. So good luck to the winner. Joe, I'm going to pass it over to you, and let's start talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Thanks, Ken. Good to see you, Georgie. Yeah, lots to talk about. I actually was at the Minnesota game on Wednesday, so I thought we could spend a bit of time talking about that experience. Ugly game, not a lot of fun, but a good friend of mine that I used to work with does a yearly group, four guys go down and they sit in the gold seats. So that's not too, I was taking some pictures and sending them to Ken. So it's really good seats, blue line gold seats. So my buddy Dave Neve, thanks for the invite. And despite the outcome, always good to go down and check it out. Lots of construction on the main concourse. Really, really difficult to get in down there. I'm not sure what they're doing. I guess they're upgrading the concessions but man, it's packed down there. It takes you about a half an hour to leave the building alone. So I took the subway down, and that's always fun. And then you come home. So it's a long trek to get down there from Stouffville, but it's loud. Holy cow, the sound system is incredible. The crowd cam, every stop and play, 8 people come out on the ice, scrape it. One guy comes out, takes his temperature. And I know they used to have little videos and stuff, little amusing things to watch. Now it's just show people in the crowd losing their mind and no, I'm on the thing. So that was a bit different from the last time I was there for sure.
Yeah, actually, I want to talk to you about the sounds down there. And George, you can chime in from watching from TV. Okay, I'm going to set it up here a little bit. Austin Matthews says, maybe it's a little too quiet in that front section, and we're not getting enough support. Mitch Marner, he chimed in saying, yeah, well, maybe that's right. People on X and social media all chiming in saying, oh, everyone knows in Toronto you're priced, a Leaf fan is priced out of those seats now, and it's all business seats. Joe, well, we'll start with you, George. From your perspective, watching it on TV, do you find that the lower bowls? I mean, you go to the Calgary Flame games, and I know it's quite loud there during Flame games. I will give Calgary fans that. Do you find it extra quiet when you're watching on TV?
First of all, Joe, I hope you're not one of those people that are too rich to scream and yell and try to get your fans into the game. Well, when you come out to Calgary and you watch the Leaf game, I'm going to the game on February the 4th. We are the loudest. We outnumber the Calgary Flame. We are the loudest Leaf fans out there. And you watch and you see how we think we as in blue collar working fan lover or Toronto Maple Leaf fans, and we like to be loud. We like to support our team.
Joe?
Let me tell you, George, I'm 100% behind you, but in the platinum and gold sections, it's not the case. I'm going to date myself, and I'm going to sound like a grumpy old man, but in my days when you went to the gardens, you didn't come up and down out of your seat until stop and play. They wouldn't let you. It was a non-stop up, down, people selling beer, the people that take the food orders. I don't know how many times there's the face-off in the Leaf zone and 8 people decide to come in late and they're standing there chit-chatting and I can't see where's the hockey etiquette, first of all. So these are people that are just there, in my opinion, to be seen because it's the place to go. Lots of wine drinkers down there. It's very nice. The views are great, but when half the time you can't see because someone's arse is in front of your face because they're standing there, and a couple times I had to say, "Excuse me," like the play is not like when I went into the seats, I either ducked or I waited till a stop and play, then snuck in. Now that etiquette's gone. It's a free for all. They're coming and going, and it's the wait staff too. It's the guys selling stuff and the girls taking the orders, and they come right in front of you, leaning over, passing the tray. You're just like, "Oh my God, there's a game going on here." It was driving me crazy. Now, that being said, there wasn't much to cheer and scream for. I'm going to be honest with you. It was a dull, boring, painful game. I got a couple of takeaways though, because I watched a couple of players. So, Ken, I'll throw it over to you, and when you want to hear my take, I'll go.
Well, yeah, I'm very interested in that take, but I just want to say to conclude this sound, I don't know if there's anything that we could actually do to change the sound in the garden in the gardens. I wish it was, but at Scotiabank Arena. So maybe we're just I don't know. We're being whiny Leaf fans, I guess, a game, right? Like there's nothing that we
Well,
could do to
there's a
change.
lot of effort put into making noise. There's always someone at a break. Let's make some noise in this section, and we'll throw you t-shirts or even on the scoreboard. Let's get rowdy. And you have they're constantly putting these things up to try to get the crowd enthused, or else if that didn't happen, it'd be a lot quieter.
Well,
Well, that's what they do down here in Calgary. And you watch that game, and you'll probably see me cheering and making a lot of noise.
yeah, well, I'm hearing that I seen on X, Curtis, as we all know, as the super fan that got whatever happened to him, got banned. But he was saying that when he tried to get a Leaf chant going, he was kindly told to be quiet down in the platinum section. So I don't know what can change, but George, please show us what Leaf fans are and get those chants going. We'll be listening to you on that game coming up real soon. Joe, we're going to drop back to you and give us your awful takes, please.
Well, not necessarily awful. So first of all, I watched Austin Matthews very closely. His shot to see it up close, you can't see it. You can't. I was amazed how many times he didn't get a lot of shots at it, but the ones he got off, you couldn't see the puck. So he is at full 100% as far as his shooting goes. He hit one off the crossbar. I think he gets it, it's gone. I have not seen a shot, and to see that in person, TV doesn't do it justice. It is one heck of a shot. Uh, Philip Myers dwarfs makes Simone Benoit look like a short dwarf. That's how big Philip Myers is, and I like that combination together. I wouldn't want to go down one on one against either one of those guys. I thought Benoit was a big guy. Philip Myers is huge in person, and Max Pacioretty is a lot bigger close up as well. Um, you watch their system, and it's so obvious they're a dump and chase team. Every time they come over the blue line, it's a dump in the far corner, and try to get it. That's something I noticed a lot, and especially when not much is happening offensively, you're kind of like, maybe it's time to just change things up a bit. But Minnesota is a very fast team. They took away all time and space. Mitch Marner probably gave the puck away 6 times. Getting it put, looking where a guy should be. They already knew about it. He made the play, steal, and they took it off him. So they neutralized Marner big time because they didn't give them time and space. And they are one heck of a forechecking team. Again, on the defense, very, very quick. And that was the difference. They just didn't give the Leafs anything to get any kind of chances.
Yeah. You know what? I was having a real hard time being that glass half full guy sitting there watching TV. I almost threw my cup through that TV the last few games. It's been a little frustrating, but this is the dog days, as they say, of the NHL. I wanted to actually talk about the trade that just happened between Carolina Hurricanes and the Colorado Avalanche. And it's not what happened during that trade, is what was said before after that trade happened. And apparently Carolina actually was in negotiations with the Leafs on Mitch Marner. The Leafs had turned it down eventually somewhere in there. Do you think it would have been the same package, Joe? Like they got
Oh,
Martin Niches,
Necas, yeah.
yeah, and Jack Drury and a couple of draft picks. What were the Leafs had to have been asking for more, don't you think? And George, you can chime in after Joe here. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Necas, nice player, not the Mitch Marner level. So if you're going to give up Mitch Marner, you're going to get something you hope of equal value, if not more, going forward. So I'm not surprised they didn't make that deal. Uh, I got a whole blurb on Mitch Marner as well because I really think that if the right offer comes, I think maybe it's time to consider that. But we'll get down to that when we talk about the future of the Leafs, and it's all going to depend on the playoffs, of course. But no, I could see if that's true. I don't think that would be enough for the Leafs. They're looking for a centerman and a depth defenseman, and unless you're going to throw those two in, and I think there might be other options in the fire, they probably did wise to hold off.
George, we're going to ask you the same question, but we're also going to get your take on what's going on in Calgary right now with that big trade that they actually had just last night that sees Jacob Pelletier, he's played really well lately in Calgary. I've noticed him on the Sportsnet and TSN quite often, but Andrei Kuzmenko probably was a good trade in that sense because he now is with his friend the rookie out in Philadelphia. What's his name? Mitchkov, am I right? But we'll get to that. Let's chime in on your thoughts on Carolina possibly trying to get Mitch Marner.
Well, here it goes again. Let's all talk back bad about Mitch Marner. He's our 50-point getter. He's one of the best passers out there. He's not going nowhere. I'm backing him up fully. He's not going anywhere. We're just keeping him, and you stop to talk about it. All right.
Fair
He's
enough.
one of our top guys that we need to keep. So, as that being said, I'm done with the Marner talk about being traded. He's not going nowhere. So what happened out here in Calgary? Yeah, Peltre has been in the news, and he's been playing pretty good. So is Kutzman.
Kuzmenko.
Can't even Kostenko. Sorry. A
Kuzmenko,
lot of people
it's
did.
all the same.
Kostenko, I like that. Yeah.
A lot of people did chime in and say that they weren't too happy about it. But I think after the trade was set in, they did get a couple of good guys out of it. So, and that's how the Flames are. They like the big guys and they like to muscle around people.
Joe, what do you think of that trade? I think Calgary won that trade.
No, I do too.
I'm really high on Morgan Frost.
Yeah,
And Joe Farabee has played quite well in games against the
absolutely.
Leafs.
No, that's a steal to me. I think Calgary obviously has had a pretty good season. Probably, I think, George, better than I think they expected. In which
Yeah.
case, you know what? Let's do something. Let's add instead of subtract, which they're used to
Yeah.
doing the last couple of years. Let's add, and I think they did a great job. Kudos to the GM.
Okay, our next subject, and this one might be touchy, maybe not as touchy as Mitch Marner for George, but let's talk about Morgan Riley. And I know, Joe, you brought this up last week, and it's back in the news. Here we go again. Morgan Riley, JT Miller. What do you think? Go ahead, Joe. Maybe.
Morgan Riley crapped the bed on the first goal against Minnesota, let his man just have his way coming out of the corner, put a nice pass out front, pucks in the net. I feel for Morgan Riley, great guy, good warrior. He was one of the ones that looked a little bit lost to me. He's And I don't think this style suits him. And that's what I think is the big difference. Because numerous times he would come down the wing and dump in the opposite corner, dump in the opposite corner, and then have to hold up. So I don't know if that's a type of game he enjoys or thrives in. The dump and chase, I think he prefers to carry it. Under the Berube system, I don't think that works well for him. So do I think a change of scenery would do him good? Absolutely. Do I think there's something there with Vancouver? I think possibly. And I think you'd have to seriously consider it. And I don't know if Morgan Riley, if that might not be a bad fit to get him back home, and get him a fresh start.
Yeah. George, we all know what JT Miller could bring to the Leaf lineup, and that's lots of offense. And he would actually look really good sitting in our second line center with Tavares as our third. But how will we replace Morgan Riley? And do you think Morgan Riley, although he is from Vancouver, is he going to waive that to go to Vancouver, who's on the brink of maybe missing the playoffs to the Calgary Flames?
Do I want a quiet, good, defenseman that's been with us for a long, long time, or do I want a bit of a hothead that can get out there and do a lot of stuff? So I would miss Riley. He's been with our team he's been the longest, I believe, on our team. I would miss him, but it would probably do him some good. Now bringing in a hothead like Miller, I mean, something don't go his way, the stick gets broken and everything goes like that. So, that's a pretty 50-50 there for me.
Yeah, you're right. The knock on JT Miller is he is a bit of a hothead, but the thing is, JT Miller just doesn't like to lose. And is that so bad in a dressing room like Toronto? Is he not going to take control of Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, some of these younger guys that maybe don't understand what winning really, really is that JT Miller has because he's won the Stanley Cup? I'm with you guys. Let's make that trade. Let's do this. Bye-bye, Morgan Riley. But who do we replace him? How do we replace Morgan Riley? Who do we go out? Do you have a name on top of your head, Joe, that you would like to see, regardless if Riley is traded? Who's that defenseman out there that we could get?
Well, George, I'm just going to back up a little bit, Georgie, and I get your love for Mitch Marner. I totally get it. He's having a great year. He's a good player. But when time and space is taken away in the playoffs, like it was against Minnesota the other night, the Leafs can't beat Carolina. They can't beat Winnipeg. They can't beat Vancouver. They can't beat, I can name 8 teams. The Leafs just can't beat Ottawa. When teams figure out how to neutralize the shinny playing hockey stars that like to dance and make those great plays, this has been our problem in the playoffs, not our defensive play. If you remember in our defense last year, we played pretty good in the playoffs. We just couldn't score. But what happened the year before that? Oh, we couldn't score. Why? Because they neutralize Matthews and Marner. We have too much of a good thing. If we can get Marner and get 3 or 4 better pieces to augment, I think that's a smarter business move. I'm not saying that's going to happen, and it's not a knock against Mitch Marner.
Yeah,
But
it's
too much of a
funny.
similar type player, guys. And Morgan Riley, what are we replacing? We're replacing a good guy, and he stays pretty healthy. Horrible stats this year. He has 0 offense this year under this system. I think under a different system, you'd see a different story.
He's a minus 16. You're right.
And he's a minus 16, and he's not a defensive defenseman, never has been. He's not a power play quarterback. I think that's easily replaceable with what we have. Yanni Hakanpää, Philippe Myers. I can't believe I'm saying Connor Timmins. I'm not sure about that one yet. Jury's still out. But
I'm so scared of him.
But I think the Leafs have got to, we'll see how it goes this playoffs, but I think the Leafs have got to come to grips with, we can't just keep rolling out the same style of player because playoffs is a different animal. And the glimpse we saw Wednesday was exactly that. Those guys had no time and space, and that's what's going to happen. And what's the outcome? How's it going to be any different?
So someone like
Brent or Camp going to score goals?
So someone like JT Miller opens that up for you, Joe?
I think minimum JT Miller, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Max Domi, fast skater. He was one of the fastest guys on the ice.
Yeah.
For the love of God, stop.
I do want to stop you there for 1 second. In defense of what George is saying and defense of Marner, he is a point a game player in the playoffs. Like, how much more production do we need from him? I think it's the people at the bottom 6 like in the last 15 games, I think we've got what 4 goals from our bottom 6. Do we not need to do something down there? And I think that's where someone like JT Miller coming into the lineup would push Tavares down into that bottom 6, which really helps when we got a 20 goal scorer sitting as our third line center. George,
Okay.
I'll let you go ahead.
Okay, so we focus all of our talk, and when we're thinking about our big guys on Marner and Matthews, we're totally forgetting about this guy named Nylander. He's got 28 goals,
29
and
now.
he's 29 right now, and he's right up there. You see, Nylander doesn't get the same recognition as you say your Marner and your Matthews.
And he
But
has performed in the playoffs.
Yeah,
he
he scares me sometimes. Sometimes it looks like he's got into a sucky and he doesn't want to play.
But then
He
you put
scares me
JT
sometimes.
Miller as his center.
There you go. I'm not against JT Miller, but will he scare the kids?
Well, I think Joe will agree with me. They need a little scaring. That's what we need to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Mitch Marner has 50 points in 59 games in the playoffs. So he's not a point a game player. And that's
It's
production
close.
that should be he's 10 games shut. No. If he's as good as he is, his points should be way higher than less than point a game. So let's not give him credit where credit was due. We needed big goals last year from him. We didn't get it. Right? So let's just back off the Mitch Marner was great in the playoffs. He's not been great in the playoffs. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he should
but
be at least a point a
he's not
game
been
player.
bad. He's not been bad. There's a lot of players out there that cannot boast the same numbers as Mitch Marner in the playoffs.
Right.
Considering we haven't got past the first round.
But I don't think a guy coming in yelling
So
and screaming is the problem. I don't think that's going to help them. Really?
No.
I don't know. They got Craig Berube for that.
So let's worry about our third line and fourth line. How do we get these people to start moving around and getting some goals and stop worrying about the first and second line doing all the work?
We definitely need the help, and that's where we win playoff games.
Let's talk about these two lines.
Here it is, guys. Our top lines on both teams are usually neutralized with each other. You need those dirty, grindy goals, playoff goals from your third and fourth line. And with this third and fourth line that we're set up, we can all honestly say it's not going to get the job done right now. Because I think our highest goal scorer might be Domi with 3 goals. Like, come on. Where are these goals coming from?
You wonder why Nylander's sucky. When I looked at him playing the other night, he's got Pontus Holmberg as his center, and they were switching up between Max Pacioretty, who's just coming back from injury, who looked a step behind, and he's looking at him. I sat there going, if we lose one more center to injury, who's Nylander playing with? Someone set this poor guy up. It isn't, Pontus, I said that, and Pontus Holmberg made a nice pass, and they got the only goal of the game. But Pontus Holmberg's not the answer. And sometimes I think Willie looks around and goes, I'm out here by myself.
It's crazy. It's no wonder he gets 10 breakaways a game, right, guys?
Yeah, there you go.
And that's from a pass from the defenseman usually, not a forward, right?
Yeah.
Or if he happens to somehow be out there with Mitch Marner.
But the power play needs work. That's a problem. That's something that you have to get going into the playoffs.
Oh, this is the truth, because honestly, that was a test in that Minnesota game. Minnesota's power play, shorthanded, is ranked 30th in the league, and we did not perform well in those power plays. We didn't get a lot of power play time.
There was one in each team. That was it. There was 2 minutes of penalties both sides.
But we still did not play well in that power play. We're passing it around too much on the perimeter, and all of us are yelling at that TV, shoot that damn puck. Domi, he looks off people, and the goalies are cheating the other way because Domi's not going to shoot it at the net for some reason.
There was a couple times he was in wide open and at least take a shot.
Does he need Mary Lemieux and Matt Sundin to come talk to him again, George?
Yeah, you would hope something like that would be needed. So I don't know. Maybe his dad needs to smack him around a little bit.
I think maybe they're asking too much of him as a third line center, and he should be slotted as a winger. And
he's a winger. He's not a center. He's a winger. Winger with a good centerman. He needs to play with good players, He can't run a line by himself. He can't drive a line.
Exactly. Look how he played in the second half of last season, playing with Austin Matthews.
Yeah. Did
There's a
Robertson not
question.
scare everybody?
Pardon me?
I said, did Robertson not scare everybody the last game? I think he gave it away for at least 3 goals.
Yeah. I don't know,
He's
Joe.
I don't
he's
know.
a
You
hard
got to
worker. He
get that.
skates
You got to get
miles,
that.
but he
You
gets
got to
knocked
get
off
it
the
out of
puck
our
too much.
zone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
You
gets
got to get
knocked
it
off.
out of our zone.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe. Okay, Joe, give us your evaluation of Nick Robertson's play.
Fast skater, skates circles, lots of hard work, back checks, but gets knocked off the puck too easy. One-on-one battles, he loses. Same with Domi. Domi loses those battles too constantly.
Okay, I'm going to ask both of you this question. Has he done enough to get us something back in a trade that we could package him up with something is he just a garbage giveaway still, or is he something that we could actually pull something back that we don't have to maybe trade Morgan Riley? Whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
You probably could get something for him. I think his performance is doing good, but he's a little guy and he's getting knocked off the puck. You probably could get someone for him. I think he'd be good in the package.
I think a young building team where he's playing on the first or second line, playing on the third line does him no favors here with whoever he's
Yeah.
playing. Right? He needs to play. Can you imagine him on a line? I'd love to see him on a line. I don't know why, with Connor Bedard in Chicago. There's a young
Well,
team.
there you go.
Get him a fresh start, get his confidence, get him some power play time. And I think he could put the points up if he can stay healthy. But I think the style of play again that Berube wants, it's not conducive to Riley and or Nick Robertson. I just don't think they can play that style.
Well, yeah, you're sorry, you're bang on in that assessment, Joe, because when Craig Berube was in St. Louis, there was players like Kyrou and that weren't performing well under the system of Craig Berube, but other players were performing really well, like Ryan O'Reilly, that type of player actually excelled off of what he teaches and his structure. So yeah, some guys are going to be left at the holding their pockets, I guess, or whatever it is you want to say.
Yeah, I think he'd be part of a package. I can't see anybody trading one, giving a front line player 1-for-1 for him. I think you'd have to put him with a Fraser Minton or a Morgan Riley or a Easton Cowan, dare I say, and package to get a really good
Sure.
player or two. Yeah, Connor Dewar, I guess he might have some value in a playoff run for sure, as a fourth line banging kind of guy. What do you guys think about Ryan Reeves and his value to the Leafs? That's a question that I get asked a lot is, do we really need this guy? Because one fight all season,
Yeah.
and he's a hard worker. He's a big guy too, and you see him in person. He's a lot bigger than I thought as well. But it's a crapshoot whether he's going to have a good shift or be a disaster out there defensively.
Go ahead, George.
Yeah.
You answer that
I,
first.
I really do like Reeves. I've always liked having a big guy on our team to go in and back us up. And when he's out there, or when he's on the roster or on the lineup, other teams see him there and say, okay, this is the type of game we're going to play, because we're not going to play the game that we've intended if he wasn't there. Is he performing? I mean, yeah, one fight, is that because everybody else didn't want to fight him? Only Oliver wanted to fight him? Is that because nobody really goes after him? Or is that because he's none of us have really got hurt. Well, I mean, Knives got hurt when Ryan Reeves was on the bench, wasn't he there?
Yeah, he probably was.
Yeah.
Okay, well, are you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 50-50 for me. Yeah, I mean, he's not there scoring us a bunch of goals, but people play better with us when he's on our line.
Yeah. Okay. From the start of the season, when we first brought in Ryan Reeves, especially for this season, I think it was well known that he's not going to be much of a seasoned player. We're not going to play him as much, but he is the type of player, just from what George is saying, we need someone, if we end up against Boston or Ottawa, we might need someone that can settle things down out there, not necessarily have that fight, but maybe settle things down so our top guys aren't getting run at without the fact of maybe their top guys getting a few bumps and bruises as well. And I think that's where Ryan Reeves comes into play. Next season, I don't know if he'll be back next year, possibly, but I think he's here for this year. And honestly, I'm not sure you can get out from underneath his contract. Not many teams are going to take that contract, unfortunately. So, you know what? We live and die with him, and come playoff times, doesn't matter about what his cap hit is anyway. So I hope that was a good enough answer, Joe. Let's set up the Edmonton Toronto game. Briefly, we only got about 6 minutes, but let's also get some predictions for that game that George is going to be at. Calgary Flames versus our Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's start with you, George. Let's get your predictions for this Edmonton game and for the game that you'll be at.
Well, I think Edmonton's going to be a close game, depending on the goalies that are playing. If Stolarz is in, I say we win 2-1, 2-1, 3-2 maybe. If Stolarz is in. For Calgary, hey, let's just hope Matthews comes down and gets a hat trick like the last time he was here. I lost a hat on that game. So I took my granddaughter to that game, and we were both wearing Leafs hats. And I says, Matthews got a hat trick, and I had to throw it. And she looked at me like with her eyes open like this. What did you do that for? I says, a hat trick. We got to throw it. She's like, nope.
I grabbed the guys next to me. I grabbed Sam's hat when Riley Pope scored with a hat trick for the Stovall Spirit the other day. He looked at me pretty rude. I was going to throw his hat on the ice. But hey, George, just so you know, I don't think Stolarz will play against Edmonton just because it's the Edmonton Oilers. But you know what? I think you're going to see Anthony Stolarz come Tuesday. I really do. If you don't, it's going to be for sure in that next game in Seattle on Thursday. Okay, Joe.
Wolf has been playing good out here. Let's give it to that kid. He has been playing good. He has been playing good out here. So that could be a really tight game too.
Thank you. Joe, you got the last word here before I sign us up.
Well, again, it's about forward depth, and the Leafs are a one-line team. So if we don't get Matthew Nyes back and John Tavares, that I think the Leafs are in for a rough Western road swing, because you just tie up Marner, Matthews, Nylander's got no one to play with anyway. I think they're going to get smoked in Edmonton. Edmonton's on a roll. They're the hottest team in the league right now. Joseph Wall's playing okay. He's playing, he's not got the greatest save percentage since January 1st. He's under 900. So I'm thinking unless they get Tavares, they got to get some depth forwards. And from what I saw Wednesday night, you just shut down those two guys. Matthews and Marner's were the only line that was really a threat. So we'll see, but I don't have good feeling about Edmonton. And then if we get Stolarz in for Calgary, then I might feel a bit better. And maybe if we get Tavares back.
Yeah, those are our guys are on the brink of coming back. They will be playing at some point in this Western road swing from the things that I've been looking up anyway on Twitter or X. All right, I just want to mention again, probably most likely starting next week, this will be called the Joe and Ken Sports Show, and will be seen right before the Leaf game at 6:30. Only on YouTube. The Facebook and TikTok will be after the game. We'll get you on there. So in case you miss us live, and hopefully with these tickets going like they are, we can have that raffle on our next show. Thank you, George, for coming on and being on this show today. Hopefully we get this fan panel back up running. Maybe the boys can put down the beers for a bit and sober up and get back to the panel. Thank you so much for coming. George, all the way out there in Calgary from the fan panel. And Joe, my co-host, Joe Moyer. Thank you so much, Joe, for always being on.
Georgie, thanks for coming on, and stay warm out there. And Ken, we will see you next time.
So remember, Joe, Ken's Korner podcast at gmail.com. I'll send you a list of the numbers taken, and you can pick what's
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day, guys.